Hello, my name is Steven Garcia, and I'm here to demo my Pong assignment for GD50. The assignment was to implement an AI for one of the paddles or both of the paddles, so that a human player would have an opponent to play against, or if you just wanted to watch two AI players play against each other. How I built this was I extended the paddle class, which was provided as part of the source game and source solution, to receive a controller class, where essentially I've implemented two versions of it. The first version is the human controller, which we see here essentially pulled the code to respond to a given key press and set the paddle speed of the paddle dependent on that. And we configure the up and down key for the human controller here in the init, then respond to that. So essentially I can set this to up, down, WS, whatever makes the most sense for the player playing it. So this constructor here takes in W and S. And for paddle 2 we have an AI controller, which doesn't take in an input in the instantiation, but the update is similar in that it takes a paddle and a ball, so it's the same interface. But the way this works is essentially it has two behaviors. One is that it tracks the ball if the ball is going away from the paddle. So if it's player 2 and it's on the right and the ball is going left towards player 1, it's not going to predict where the ball is going to go because it doesn't really know. It's just going to track the ball position. So given that the ball is above the paddle, for instance, it's going to say, hey, start moving to a position that's greater than where the paddle's at. So the way it's targeting it is based off the paddle's height, in this case plus and in this case minus. Otherwise, if it's relatively in line with the ball, it shouldn't go anywhere. Versus if it's predicting where the ball is going to go to actually hit it back to player 1 or player 2 or the other player in general, it actually is going to predict where the ball will land by calculating the time for it to travel, along the x-axis from its current x position to the paddle axis, so where the paddle is moving up and down, and from that time calculating out the total distance it should travel in the y domain. Note that I'm not talking displacement here, strictly distance. And from that it'll calculate the number of reflections that it'll reflect either off the top and bottom wall to predict where it should go. To see a demo of this, we have a human player on the right, so I'm controlling that with the W and S keys. We have a computer player on the right. So let's first show the predict behavior. So I knock this back to the player 2. So note how it actually predicts where it's going to go and stops, versus if the ball is going down while it's going left, it just tracks the ball. So watch how it tracks, then it predicts. So that's my implementation for the AI. Let me show you one more case, which is with two AI players. So first I am going to go back to main here. Instead of player 1 using a human controller, I'm instead going to also make that an AI controller. So now both player 1 and player 2 are computers playing against each other. Starting again, I have no control, pushing W and S. Press enter to start. See the right and the left moving under AI control. There's probably a lot better than me at playing. But note that the AI logic is independent of the player that's in play. So it's shared logic, it's doing it based off where they are relative to the other. And that's a game of Pong with two AI players. Thank you for watching, and I'll just play this out to see who loses. Guess it's a pretty long game. There's my demo.